Hey everybody, welcome to the competitor briefing for the 2020 Santa Barbara Fall Laser Invitational. This will be our official briefing. There's no competitor meeting, and for obvious reasons, trying to maintain social distance, etc., and kind of get away from big in-person meetings. Before we go into anything, I just want to say thank you to all the people who sort of made this happen, including, of course, the Santa Barbara Yacht Club, who this will be our second phase 6 event of return to sailing. And we're really proud that we've had a good track record so far, which has allowed us to go into events that allow us to have out-of-town competitors. I want to thank the Youth Foundation, in particular our Youth Foundation Director, Nick Kashak, who's made assets available to make this happen and also pushed very hard to make this happen. All of our race committee, and of course our regatta chair, who's also the Santa Barbara Youth Sailing Foundation president, Eric Stockey. Thank you so much. As I said, this will be our second phase 6 return to sailing event, and that does mean a lot for a lot of people. What it means for us is that we've been trying hard and diligently to step up to the point where we can finally have out-of-town competitors at our events, and the harbor department's condoned that and approved it, and we've had great reviews from them. So we'll ask kindly that you help us in particular with the mask wearing optics on shore, as far as social distancing on shore. These are really, really big things that allow us to hopefully continue to do this through the spring and until this whole mess is over. So we're excited to do it. Just help us so that we can continue to do it and hopefully host more stuff soon. Before you leave home, don't forget that we are not handing out, there's no like regatta registration or check-in physical location. So print out your sailing instructions and course charts before you come. I apologize that we're asking you to do this, but again, we're just avoiding lineups or any kind of setup where somebody has to come up and grab something. You can just bring it from home and have it ready for yourself. One of the big keys for this event is parking and the overall onshore activities. As a reminder, we're asking all competitors, spectators, support personnel, coaches, etc., to wear masks well on shore, face coverings of some sort, buffs or whatever it is, on shore in the harbor parking area. And we're also going to ask that we keep some good distance. So with that, I'm going to go to a share screen here and show you what exactly we're hoping to pull off. Okay, so we'll start here, and I'm going to share our event website, which you can see here on the screen. And on this site, you'll find our virtual notice board and our race documents. This is where notices will be posted. So there's no physical notice board. It's all online here. And I'm going to start with our attachment A, onshore staging. In this, you'll notice this area here is not at the yacht club. This is the Santa Barbara public launch ramp. We have this back row reserved for lasers and dollies and some laser trailers too. There's also this row, and this row that can be used for any trailers. So if you happen to bring, several laser trailers and you just want more space in this back row, you can put them in any of these rows. But this back row in general is kind of reserved for a rigging area. We'll also have some spaces in one of these rows that will be denoted, about 5 spaces for some more boats there as well. In each of these spots, they're, I believe, 24 feet long. And so we're going to allow 2 boats to be stored per stall. There's 23 in the back here, or I think 25, which leaves a little bit of space to put, a trailer in between perhaps a cohort. So for instance, if Southwest Yacht Club and Coronado Yacht Club, I happen to notice, have the same coach, maybe that's like a cohort or something like that, right? And then there might be a trailer put between them and ABYC, for instance. And that just gives you space so that if you're a coach from a specific program, you can monitor your cohort and not be mixed necessarily with other cohorts. Remembering that we are going to do just 2 boats to a spot, no more than that. Also, we are asking San Diego Yacht Club and San Francisco Yacht Club, and this is out of the generosity of their hearts, that I've spoken with their coaches and they said that would not be a problem, to use this beach just to the east of the launch ramp area. And there's tons of beach here and it's hard packed sand where you can use that entire space and space out as much as you want and need. That'll put about 18 boats over there by my count, maybe 19. And this whole area is for San Diego Yacht Club and San Francisco Yacht Club. That's Jack Barton and Brian Payne are kind of in charge of those two groups. Okay, so the point of all of this, the reason we actually had to limit the amount of boats we could have is really this onshore part. That's it. So keep that in mind as you look at this. Coach boat trailers should not go in the back row. Also, cars should not go in yellow spots. So a car attached to a trailer can go in a yellow spot, but please don't do that in the back row. Okay, move that to one of the other yellow stalls. You can park it anywhere. There's no restrictions on that. But if you're going to use, for instance, like an 8-pack laser trailer, that could maybe be parked in the back row to be used as a barrier between, again, one club and another. We're actually going to let you guys organize this. We have some parking monitors to help assist, but ultimately, we're going to let you guys sort of figure out how to put the boats and making sure that you have enough space. Our goal was to make sure there's not too many boats in that back row, so that it shouldn't be too difficult. If it is, we'll find more space or we'll put more boats on the beach, just so everybody has plenty of space and there's just optically no concerns about whether or not we're creating groups close to one another. As I mentioned, yellow stalls are for trailers or cars attached to trailers specifically. White stalls are for cars. You can actually see in this picture, there's a whole bunch of white stalls over here right closest to the beach. So you can park there, or there's additional single vehicle parking further to the west, further away from this boat launch area. Most of the parking here is for yellow stalls, which is inconvenient, I admit, for parents or spectators or coaches that just drove their car and want to park close. But I will say this, if you are a parent or a spectator or somebody doesn't need to be in the rigging area or the general vicinity, we'd like to politely ask that you kind of drop your sailor off, wish them well, and then move away. There's no need for us to have a ton of people hanging out watching people rig. Let's let the people rig and their coaches assist them as necessary. But if you're just there to spectate, wish your competitor well, I'll talk about where you can watch them sailing on the water later on. Again, this is about creating smaller groups of people and not creating large crowds. We have 64 boats registered and I don't know, maybe a dozen coaches. So we're really looking at, 76 people potentially over there, which isn't a huge amount of people, but it's enough to draw attention. And really we want to avoid that. Okay, moving on. As I mentioned before, there will be no check-in table. Usually we have one at the corner of the beach or something like that. There's no registration table, nothing like that. We'll have 3 parking monitors going around, just saying, okay, can you move your boats into here, et cetera, or make sure we don't overcrowd this area. But in general, it should be two boats per spot in the back row, and that's the general rule. And since there's no check-in table, we are going to check you in online. When I go back to, again, our virtual notice board, you'll notice an online daily sign-in. Click, and you've got yourself essentially a Google form that's going to load up. You're going to do this each day. It is due by 10 o'clock, and this is your opportunity to change your sail number if you have a sail number change from what you registered with, or if you're changing a sail number from one day to the next, you're allowed to do that. All you have to do is put your club, name of skipper, sail number, and the date you're signing in for. Therefore, if you were to say, I'm racing Saturday, but I'm not going to race Sunday, we know to expect you on the water Saturday, and we're going to look for you. And if we don't see you, we're going to be concerned, but we will expect not to see you on Sunday if you're not signed in. So that is important, and it is a discretionary penalty that can be protestable by the race committee. So be aware of that. Let's see here. Regarding the masks on land, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. Please be aware that it is only protestable by the race committee, but I want to be real clear. That is not something that we're looking to protest. We're just looking for your help to make this safe, COVID-free, transmission-free environment. And we're putting on the proper face that's necessary in our community and really setting a good example. A couple other things that really are not COVID related. Any kind of group meetings, coach meetings or whatever, ideally are done before the day, COVID, I suppose, related in that case, but you can take them over to the beach or someplace that's not a driveway or a walkway, okay? So we wanna take your participants, your sailors over to a beach area, spread out, have your meeting there, or do it on the water. If you launch early enough, you can certainly go out, have your meeting on the water. There's plenty of space out there. Let's see here. When it comes time to launching boats, so let's go back to our attachment A. You can see there's two red circles here, says don't launch from these areas. That's for the fishing boat and the recreational vehicles. We have launching along the dinghy dock here. You can see the sailboat right there, and that's where you can launch. What we're going to ask you to do is that when you're ready to launch, tell one of the parking volunteers, I'm ready to go. And they'll say, okay, we're going to have you go next or right after San Diego Yacht Club or whatever. They're going to line it up, and each cohort is going to kind of get the chance to launch by themselves, get their boats taken care of, return their dollies to the location where their boats were stored, i.e. either the back row or the beach, and then they can sail off, and then we'll get more boats coming in. And that way we're really only having a cohort dealing with a cohort one at a time at the launch ramp. There's not a bunch of people intermingling that are not together as a team in some way, shape, or form. And that also gives you the chance as a cohort to monitor and implement your own policies and safety that will help your cohort stay safe and distanced as necessary. We're going to launch from the eastmost ramps, as mentioned, these two green arrows. And again, this is all on the website on the virtual notice board. And I want to remind everybody, this is a slick launch ramp at low tide, very slick. So just be wary of when you're going in. If it's low tide and it's slippery and it's wet, you just be very, very cautious, very wet when you're coming in and launching or returning to the launch ramp. Okay, on to coaches. As I said, your coach boat trailers can be stored in any of these yellow rows. It doesn't necessarily need to be this one. Any of these yellow rows, that's not the back row. That's for lasers, okay? The back row here is for lasers. The rest of these three are open for business for pretty much anybody's trailer, and they're not checking about that at all. So just be aware of that. When it comes time to put your coach boat away for the evening, we are offering the Santa Barbara Yacht Club End Tie D, okay? I'm going to pull up attachment H, the harbor map, and you'll see here's our launch ramp. Okay, this is where our whole staging area is. This is where the lasers will be stored. When we go out, we'll go out of the channel into the ocean here. But when we come back in, you're going to kind of follow your sailors back in, and then you can take your boat over to End-Tie D. Okay, so End-Tie D right here is where you're going to go. And that's the Santa Barbara Yacht Club End-Tie. I understand that this is Marina 1, and we're actually over near Marina 4 is where the staging area is. That is a long walk, and I understand that's inconvenient. It's approximately a 5 to 7 minute walk if you're walking briskly. It's actually not that bad. It seems bad. It's not that bad. We can only offer End-Tie D. I know in the past we've offered some docks over here in Marina 4. We do not have that availability this time around for several reasons, but I cannot offer that this time. So I want to be clear that you're going to end up with End-Tie D is where you can store it in the water, or you can pull your boat out of the water onto your trailer. That's inconvenient. So again, End-Tie D is available if you like that. All right. On the way in, coming back to the dock, we will try to have a cohort or club, go kind of one at a time. So let's say I'm using San Diego Yacht Club a lot today. They're sailing fast that day. I see that they've got most of their boats in from the race. They can kind of start sailing in as a cohort, and we might say, hey, collect all your sailors and then go in. Now, I know that's a little different. That's more opti style than laser style. So we're going to kind of feel this one out by the seat of our pants. But what we'd like to do is get essentially not a big clog up at the ramp. So if people are waiting to get the ramp, don't just like pile in and wait on the dock with next to dozens of people. Sail around in the basin or give itself time and just be patient. Remember, as we're waiting for you to get on the water, there's going to be some flexibility here, assuming everybody's launched within reason, to make sure that everybody had time to keep space and launch easily, safely, and not under pressure. Okay, so we just want everybody to be like focused on getting out of the water where we have tons of space. And again, once you're on the water, those masks are not required at that point. There's enough space out there, obviously. Certainly highly recommended, but not required. Okay. When you come in, we'll also have hoses available at the launch ramp. So you're going to come in right to these same launch ramps. There's going to be a couple of hoses right over here. We'll have a volunteer monitoring and doing those hoses. So you just bring your boat by with your mask on. They're going to have their mask on. They'll squirt down where you want it to be squirted down. Then you roll it off on your dolly and off you go. Okay, so we will go that route with it. Hopefully, you know, you can work as a team. We can try to have our parking monitors help as they can as far as dolly retrieval goes, but we'll work together to make that happen. Okay, let's see here. Question about bathrooms. There are multiple public bathrooms close by, kept in good condition and clean. This one that says UCSB docks, is arrow pointing this way. There's a building called Sea Landing. They have individual men and women's restroom there. So there's restrooms right over there. And then if you walk this way, just past this building right here is another public restroom with multiple men and women's, like more of a bigger men and women's restrooms. There's restrooms both directions to use. There's also a drinking water fountain by both restrooms, I believe, but definitely by the Sea Landing one over here by the UCSB docks. Okay, moving on to the on the water stuff. As mentioned before, there's an online notice board. All of this is at the event page, which is sbyc.org/fall-laser-invitational. And as you scroll down, you'll see this virtual notice board. The daily sign-in, the sailing instructions have now been posted. You can see the racing area, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And you can see our courses. We've opted for only windward leeward courses. We're not going to try to do a trapezoid. It was just a little too complicated during this time to pull that off. But the course is there. Our race committee signal boat for this event will be a sailboat. It is a, I believe, Catalina, I don't know, 30 something, but it's a sailboat. Obviously, we'll have the race committee flag on it. The race course area is shown in race course area 1 or 2. I'm not going to ultimately say which one it's going to be right now, but it's likely it'll be racing area 1, especially if we anticipate a westerly breeze, which is our standard breeze and what we have been seeing the last few days. Racing area 2 would be a direction we might go if we had an easterly breeze. For spectating, you're going to see that the best place to watch racing area 1, going back to the harbor map, is just past Santa Barbara Yacht Club. Here's the yacht club right here. So here's the staging area. And if you walk all the way along the water over to the Santa Barbara Yacht Club, there's a break wall here. You can watch on the break wall, or the beach right here next to the Santa Barbara Yacht Club. That'll be your best kind of viewing area for racing in racing area 1. If it's racing area 2, you might find yourself wanting to go over to Stearns Wharf, enjoying some wine or some ice cream and watching the racing off of Stearns Wharf over here. None of this is super close as walks go, but it's really not bad. I mean, it really is like a 10, 15-minute walk at the worst. And if you're walking briskly, it can be much quicker than that. Again, going back to our racing areas, you can see zoomed out, our area of launching is right here. Our yacht club's right here. And then here's the beach next to the yacht club and the break wall. The yacht club is unfortunately only open to members at this time. So if you are with a member of the Santa Barbara Yacht Club and they've invited you in as a guest, you can do that. But we are not open. The yacht club is not open for reciprocal privileges, and I'm so very sorry. It's just the way things are currently. You can sit on the beach right next to the yacht club, and you may be able to even get their Wi-Fi signal there if you need to use Wi-Fi. But for now, that is the case. And for this weekend, that will be the case. There's lots of great restaurants nearby where you can grab, to-go food from on the alley and eat it on the beach and watch the sailors sail, or, there's a lot of options like that. So I encourage you to just kind of walk around the harbor. Tons of great stuff in Santa Barbara, obviously. Finally, protests. So going back to our notice board, you'll notice we have an online protest form. It's essentially a Google form, and it has all of the questions on a standard protest form. And I think the only thing that's on there, that's not on there, is drawing a diagram. But if you have a protest, it's the way to do it. It's actually quite convenient. I can see protests filed immediately from wherever I am in the world. And then also I'll be able to post on this virtual notice board the protest time limit for each day. So review your sailing instructions for the protest time limit and how that works. But essentially everything will be posted here. To notify people that something has been posted here, I'll probably do something through the Regatta Network event email council, which you've already seen one hopefully come out. If you haven't, you might want to check your junk mail and make sure that the Regatta Network emails are coming through appropriately, and that will allow you to see when I'm posting something to the notice board. But I think that's pretty much it. The final thing is that we'll have awards. There will be no award ceremony, but there will be awards given out at the launch ramp. And what we're probably going to do, my goal is to have everything kind of almost posted by the time the sailors are hitting the launch ramp, pending protest, of course. And if we know our top 10 in radials, which is what we're awarding for, and our top 3 in full rigs, then we'll probably kind of announce via megaphone, hey, they're over here, come and grab them. You can take them home with you. And then we'll try to put on a Facebook Live awards banquet. We ham it up a little bit sometimes. Sometimes I'll use my daughter's toys, or maybe I'll just announce it at the yacht club and have my children kind of help out with it. But generally speaking, we've been just trying to have fun with it and acknowledge that you won. It's not how it's supposed to be. There's not a cool party. There's no cool refreshments. And I apologize. It's the best we can do right now, but we are glad we can host this. And I hope you have a great time. If you have questions about this competitor briefing, I encourage you to email me and let me know so that I can share any pertinent responses with the entire fleet. One more thing before I go, I do want to share our course chart and just point out that we do have, if anybody sailed the single-handed nationals for college or high school last year, we did a reach to the finish here. So you kind of, when you're doing a downwind finish, there's kind of like a finish line set like this, and it's kind of unusual. The idea is you go through the gate and then round to that finish and reach to the finish. Makes it a little easier to finish, makes it a little more true downwind for that second downwind. And that's pretty much it. Again, we're excited to have you for the 2020 Fall Laser Invitational, kind of a pickup event. We just sort of decided to host the last second. I want to thank Nick Kashak for pushing that through and making that happen, and Eric Stocky for helping staff all the volunteers, and of course, all my volunteers. We look forward to seeing you again. Feel free to reach out with questions to racing@sbyc.org. And my cell phone number is 310-850-5213. You can call or text me with questions as well. Thanks again. I'm going to stop the share here and we're going to end this meeting. We'll see you guys all this weekend, and I'm sure several of you showing up tomorrow.